Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today, let's take a look at the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5. This is the all-wheel drive XRT. It's finished off in cyber gray with an MSRP that starts just over $55,000. Now this is a full EV. It is powered by an 84 kilowatt lithium-ion battery along with dual motors paired to a single-speed transmission. This pumps out 320 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque. That power sent through that all-wheel drive system, propelling this 4,700-pound SUV from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. It has a top speed of 117 miles an hour, and in terms of its range, I found between 260 and 320 miles. There's also various ways that you can charge this, of course, from your standard outlets to level 2, level 3 chargers, and it can charge fairly quickly depending on the option that you go with. Now this has a wheelbase of 118.1 inches. Its overall length is 183.3. It has a width of 74.4, a height of 64, and its ground clearance measures in at 7 inches. Now as we take a look at the exterior styling for this XRT, this is a little bit more off-road focused for this particular model. You'll notice the massive red tow hooks on both sides. There's also a forward-facing camera in this upper trim accent. There's parking sensors too. These sections here will open up to provide cooling when needed to the components up front. And then you'll notice off of that upper trim accent, there's a dark housing for all of the LEDs with a very unique design for the turn signals. You'll also notice too, within the entire plastic bumper, there's a unique pattern that runs throughout it. You will see that down the rest of the exterior components once we go to the sides. Now, since this is a full EV, underneath the hood, it looks to be an engine, but you can open up that cover and you can put in some items. You can see there's a few of the charging adapters in there at the moment, but it's nice if you have some smaller items that you want to hide away up front. Now, as we move on to the side, you'll notice more of that pattern for the fender arches, a unique design for these matte black wheels with an all-terrain tire. There's more plastic for the lower side skirt there, and then gloss black for the mirrors. There's a camera and a turn signal, more gloss black for all the window trim, and then it's also on the roof racks too. And then there's some very unique lines that run down the side, just giving it a really cool look. Now, with the EV, you have the passenger side here where you just push on that button, and this is how you can charge it, of course. You have the indicators for that, and then you have the control to close that when you are not using it. And then in back, there's a body colored spoiler with a third brake light. There's also some cutouts in it as well for better airflow. Wiper blade is in the lower section. You'll notice LEDs that run throughout the entire rear end, along with LEDs for the turn signals. There's the XRT badge on the passenger side there, more of that camo design within the bumper. You have a backup camera and all the parking sensors too. Now with this Hyundai, a lot of other Hyundai models have this. We have the key fob here where I can lock it and then hold on this button in order to activate remote start. Now once this starts up, this has what's called Hyundai's Smart Park Assistance. So you have controls on the side of the vehicle that you can push once it's on and running, and you can actually move the entire vehicle. So you do have to be pretty close to it, and as soon as you let off, the vehicle will stop moving, and then you can also put it into reverse. Neat party trick, but if you are in a tight spot and you just can't open the doors, simply just use that function there, and then you can shut it off using the key fob too. Now from here, you can also use the key fob to open up the lift gate, or just use the control that's located down below, and the power lift gate will open up. Now for this SUV, you have a good bit of space in back. You also get a little bit of storage underneath the floor too, where you can see the charging cable tucked up underneath that. Pretty narrow bin there, but you can at least place some items. And then you have an area where you can place a cover too, and dome lights as well. And then of course you can fold down the back seats to get a little bit more space. And then there's only one control up top to close that lift gate. Now, as you can tell, this has a unique design for the door handles. So when they are in the closed position, that means the vehicle is locked. And then of course you can unlock it just by pushing on these buttons or walking up to the vehicle. And then for the interior, you'll notice the XRT badge in that lower trim accent. You get heated rear seats, window control, massive grab handle, so it doesn't matter where you grab on the door, and then you have storage down below. Now here's the control for these seats. You can use that to fold the seats down, which of course is nice. And then you do have to unlock the seat by pulling on that lever. You do need 2 hands to do that. And then you can lock it in the upright position and then use it to recline the seat as well. Now, once in back, you'll notice there's storage pockets. There's also some auxiliaries, lots of storage down below, and these seats also move forwards and backwards. So depending on the legroom that you need or the extra cargo space, you can do that. Now, at 5'10", even with the seat reclined, I have maybe 2 or so inches of headroom. It's actually pretty spacious for the smaller size. And then right in the middle, you have the armrest with cup holders, and you have a 60-40 split, so the rest of that seat does not fold down. Now, you do have a pretty big pillar there, but it is actually easy to see around that entire section, especially from the driver's seat. Now, up front, you have a very similar design, Bose audio for this model. You have your mirror controls, window adjustments, lock and unlock, and then more storage. And then you do get power operating front seats with the XRT badge in that upper section. Now, once we hop in, we have the start button on the right of the steering wheel. Now, this has a solid leather steering wheel. You have paddle shifters on both sides, which are for the regenerative braking. So you have a few different levels that you can activate. Currently, it's on level 3, so you can go from 0 to level 4, depending on how you want to use that. Now, also on the right side, there's mode. You have tuning and volume. There's also a favorites control, so you can activate that and have that set up to what you use the most. On this left side, you have cruise, distance pacing, and then you have a control to go through the digital gauge cluster. So just by pushing on that, we can cycle through this information and then use the dial underneath it to scroll down, just depending on the page that you are in. So you have a little bit of information that you can go through there. Now, there's also a drive mode button, so just push on it and you can go through the on-road driving settings. So you have eco, normal, sport, and my drive. So that is a customizable setting. On the lower section of the steering wheel, you have terrain mode. So now you can go into snow, mud, and sand. So if you happen to take this off the pavement, you can go from drive to terrain. Now, on this left side, there's the e-brake. You have auto hold, dimmer switch for the gauges. There's traction control, the liftgate release, and then you have that control for charging it. So you can pop that open. You do have one air vent. And then with the infotainment system, it's pretty easy to go through this. You have your home screen where there's a lot of icons that you can scroll through. So just depending on what you need to see, you can go through all of those. And there's also physical buttons down below. So you can use all of these as well, depending on what you would like to get into. There's also another favorites button, so you can go in and customize both of those. Now, there's 2 air vents right in the middle, and then a secondary LCD screen to go through all of your climates. So you have fan speed, temperature, where you'd like the air to go, defrosters, you can sync all of that information. There's also volume and tuning. Now, you also get a few auxiliaries with a lot of storage down below, and you actually have a good bit of storage from driver to passenger here where you could place some items. And then right in the middle, you have 2 cup holders. You can place your phone in the middle, and then this also has wireless charging and the NFC. And NFC stands for the near field communication. So you can actually use a credit card sized key in order to lock, unlock, and start the vehicle. And it has a dual purpose for charging your phone too. Now, behind that, you have heated seats, heated steering wheel, a shortcut to the camera system, and parking sensors. Now, in order to activate the camera system and drive or reverse, you have that stalk located on this right side. So twist it towards yourself to activate reverse, where you have a few different angles that you can go through. You can even swipe around the vehicle. And then you can also put it into drive, and the forward-facing camera is going to pop up. And then, of course, you can go through the rest of those angles. And then park is located on the end of the stalk. Now, for the center armrest, you do get a little bit of storage, and then you can open up this out of the way where you have a lot more storage and auxiliaries down below to place additional items. There's also plenty of storage in the glove box, and then you get garage door buttons up top, and then dome lights are in the headliner. And a look at visibility from the driver's seat, you can see around that pillar pretty good. It is a bit bulky, but it really doesn't hinder your visibility. As we set off behind the wheel now for the Hyundai Ioniq 5, I first want to talk about the total range for this model, because what I found online and what I found in real world testing with this model seems to be a little bit different. Right now, we're at 83% with 258 miles. When this was dropped off, it was at around 93% or so with 320 miles. So fully charged, maybe 330, maybe a little bit more. So not all that bad for this particular model. And you have various ways that you can charge it, of course. There's a few adapters with this particular model, so that way you can charge it at various locations, including your house with just a normal outlet too. What I will be doing for the week, since I don't have any fancy chargers for EV vehicles. But for its range, considering how much it weighs and just the technology and everything, really respectable for how far you can go. Now, to me, EVs are good city vehicles. You could absolutely road trip these if you wanted to. You just have to plan accordingly with where you're charging, what stations are available and everything, and you can make it work. But to me, it's a really good city vehicle because 320 some miles, you can go a lot without having to charge it, but you can also charge it overnight just to keep it going as needed. So really respectable for that. And for the few days that I've been driving this, it's actually pretty comfortable and smooth. I also forgot to mention too that there's the camera system in the digital gauge cluster. So when you put your turn signal on, you have those to give you better visibility, and it kind of helps eliminate some blind spots. And it is a small vehicle, so it's very easy to maneuver. But now let's go ahead and test how quick this vehicle is. 4.5 seconds is pretty quick, especially for a vehicle of this weight. And so I have it in sport mode. Here we go. Ooh. And you don't hear anything except the hum of the batteries. So it is neat that you can get up and move like that, but that's about it. After that, from 45 here, I mean, we can get up and move a little bit from there too, but that's about it. Straight line performance. It's a heavy vehicle, so you're not going to be taking turns quick with it or anything, but nice to see. And the driving modes actually make a huge difference. So with it in eco mode, pedal to the floor, not bad, but it didn't put me back in the seat nearly as much as sport mode did. And then obviously you have some off-roading settings if you choose to take this, maybe on some gravel or something like that. We do get a little bit of extra ground clearance, which is nice. So just in general, to have a vehicle a little bit higher up is nice to have. Seats are also very comfortable too. It's been a very quiet vehicle to drive, especially being an EV. You get a little bit of that hum, and that's about it. It's a pretty solid vehicle for something that you could daily drive and want to be comfortable in. And it seems to have a good bit of space for its smaller size. So I think Hyundai did a really good job with that, being able to pack in a lot of items and use this as a functional, smaller size SUV. In terms of the driver's seat space here at 5'10", we don't have a moonroof or sunroof or anything, so that does give you a little bit more space where I have maybe 4 or 5 inches or so of headroom. And we can even make that bigger. So we have a height adjustment for the seat. You could probably be 6 feet tall or taller and fit comfortably in these seats. And in sport mode, here we go. Full power, and we're up to speed. Definitely fun to do in a vehicle like this where you don't hear anything, you are just up and moving. But this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the Ioniq 5. And we'll talk about these paddle shifters now. I have it in LV1, which is the lowest setting. Actually, there is 0, so it's completely off. When you let your foot off of the accelerator, you are just going to cruise like you would in a gas vehicle. But as soon as I start going all the way up to 4, or the I-pedal max, I'm not even touching the brake right now, and we're coming almost to a stop. So with the I-pedal max, it's basically one pedal driving. So if you time it right, as we come up to this turn, and where you can also see the camera system, I'm not even going to touch the brake pedal. So you can time it accordingly, which is nice. I would still, obviously monitor needing to brake, but the vehicle will come to a complete stop, which is nice. That's also going to help with regenerative braking to give you some more charge in the battery. So if you're in stop and go traffic, on, off, that is going to be a little beneficial. It's not significant, but it's nice to be able to see. And like I said, it's so smooth and comfortable to drive. It really is a nice vehicle to drive. We do have some plastics here and there that you can see overall, but for an EV, for the price point too, especially with this being fairly new, EVs have been out for a while, but the technology is improving, the range is getting longer, and the price point for this model is pretty respectable for everything that you were getting. Hyundai really does a good job at packaging their vehicles well for a somewhat affordable price. It's still a $55,000 vehicle, maybe close to $60,000, but for what you were getting for the package, I think it's really nice. So if you are into an EV vehicle, it's definitely a great package. And of course you have other trim levels too. You don't have to go with this model here, so you can get ones that are significantly less. But it's a nice vehicle overall. Unique exterior design, but the interior has a great feel to it. And that is going to wrap it up for the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. And I will see you all in the next video.